Hello, everyone. Good evening. And we hope the previous session was enjoyable and insightful. And our next speaker for the evening is Josh Christ, partner product at Celo. He's an advocate of blockchain technology and its profound impact. He's passionate about empowering people to build great blockchain products, which is why he's the perfect person to talk about future of crypto, particularly from Celo's perspective. Please join me in welcoming to the scene Josh Christ. Josh, all yours. Rock and
Yes,
roll.
thank you. Thanks for the intro. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little presentation prepared. Yeah, here we go. All right, so I'm going to talk about possible futures for crypto. I want to caveat this by saying, I will be talking about Celo in this context, but this is my personal opinion. This isn't the opinion of Celo or CLab necessarily, but I'll be bringing in my perspectives about possible futures for crypto that I see, and then cool things that Celo is doing along these lines that I find interesting. So with that, start with a brief intro about myself. I'm going to talk about a brief history of crypto because I think context is super important. It's really easy to just look forward at what's coming next, but looking at where we've come from is really important in understanding where we are. Then we'll talk about what's next, and then we'll zoom out into some bigger picture stuff that I'm seeing. So yeah. First, about me. As I mentioned, I'm doing developer relations with C Labs. So I've been working on Celo for just over a year and a half, and I'm focusing on educating developers. I'm helping people build on Celo, understand the technology, and make successful products and services using the Celo technology. And I kind of consider myself an interested observer of tech and social change, and it's kind of how I got into the blockchain space initially. I actually didn't know how to code 5 years ago. I heard about Ethereum and the new world computer, and it was a really inspiring narrative that I heard. So it actually inspired me to learn web development, get my first web dev job, and then I actually joined, started working crypto professionally during the 2017 ICO boom. So I'm pretty new to tech generally, but I think there's such a this is such a rapidly growing field that with a good amount of dedication and focus and energy, anybody can really get enough information and skill on this technology and start making meaningful contributions, and really join a blockchain company or start your own. There's really a ton of opportunity in this space right now. So yeah, I joined in 2017. I joined Consensus, working on Ethereum. I was teaching developers about Ethereum technology, focusing on upskilling web devs to develop on Ethereum. And then I met one of the founders of Celo, Sep, at DevCon 5, where he talked about kind of a similar topic that I'm talking about today, like the future of crypto and some of the innovations that crypto really enables, and the potential it unlocks for just currency, social coordination, and yeah, developing new technology. I actually referenced some of his slides in this talk that convinced me to join C Labs about 2 years ago. So yeah, and then I've been at C Labs for about 2 years almost. So with that, I'll jump into some brief history. I was recently reading this blog post. There's a link in this slide on the bottom right. There's this Before Bitcoin series written by Peter Pan. I'll share this link in the Discord after, because there's a good series, but it kind of contextualizes the state of cryptography and kind of where we've come over the past 50 years. So these slides are a direct reference to those articles. But starting in the 1970s was when public key cryptography was really developed. This concept of public keys and private keys, and And this is like a fundamental technology for blockchains in terms of like signing like digital signatures and signing transactions and broadcasting them on a public network and guarantees about who's who. But this technology also underpins like Diffie-Hellman key exchange, which secures a lot of the modern web and really enables e-commerce. And I want to note that, like in the 1970s, cryptography was very restricted in the United States, at least. It was considered military technology. It was used to protect military communications, and this was not very like cryptography generally was not a widely adopted technology. There wasn't much research going on, and a lot of the research and development was restricted to the military and just academic institutions. The general public did not have access to good cryptography. In the 1970s was only 50 years ago. So that's like 1 or 2 generations. So it's just interesting to think how not too long ago it was very different just in terms of what sort of information technology was available. Moving into the 1980s, we see the development of like decentralized computing services, real like actually effective anonymous communication networks that actually hide metadata. People working in computer science were realizing that even when you hide the content of messages, just the metadata associated with the sending of messages, like where and when messages are sent and to whom, can reveal a lot about a person's identity and what they're doing and what they're talking about. So there's a lot of research around research and development around products that like and services that actually help protect people's privacy in this regard. The Tor network was like the underpinnings for the Tor network were actually developed at this time. Like mixer networks where we have information moving among a network of nodes that can obfuscate this metadata. And this really like helped create censorship resistance and network resiliency. When we have centralized services, those networks can go down with the failure of one organization. I mean, we saw Facebook go down for, was it almost a day pretty recently? With decentralized networks, this risk is very mitigated. Also censorship resistance. If there are people running centralized services or organizations running centralized services that want to remove content or prevent people from posting, that's relatively easy to do with centralized services, but with decentralized services, no one party can control the network. And we see that again with social media. There's significant censorship happening on all social media platforms, for better or for worse. Decentralized networks help prevent this, and we're seeing this in blockchain networks. As long as you have funds to pay for transactions, no one can stop you from participating in the network. So with that, we'll go on to the 1990s. In the 1990s, the cypherpunk movement really started taking off. And associated with this movement, it was kind of like a way for like anti-establishment technologists and people interested in privacy and security to come together and like really create a community and build new things meaningfully. And this was a period where like the cypherpunks were really helping secure digital rights in the existing legal frameworks. There were a number of significant court cases that just protected people's privacy, specifically around like authorities coming in and just taking people's hard drives or taking information on their computers. We started getting more digital protections in this era. So it was super important for helping us move like more of our lives into this digital realm in a secure way where we can have guarantees about how individuals are recognized and protected in digital space. Moving into 2000s, we saw Bitcoin emerge in the late 2000s, which is like obviously super influential technology, super novel, and it built on a lot of existing cryptography that was developed over the previous 40 years. Hashing, public key cryptography, proof of work, all these things came together, and obviously in such a way where built a self-sustaining decentralized network of computers that is still super popular today. And then building off of the developments of Bitcoin, we saw Ethereum come in 2015, and that just enabled smart contract and arbitrary computation on blockchains in this secure, decentralized world computer that anybody can participate in. And since 2015, we've really seen an explosion of blockchains and associated crypto technologies. It's super interesting to see this currency, like digital currency layer, come along with built on these cryptographic technologies, because a lot of these blockchain projects are very well funded. They've launched with treasuries, and early adopters of these technologies are often people working, like computer scientists working in the space, or just people interested in technology. So these are people that will spend their time working on it or fund other projects that are helping advance this technology. So crypto is now very well funded in a way that it never has been in history. There's a lot of research and innovation happening in the space, not just on the cryptographic research, but in the token economic research, community development, just pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's happening in a lot of different domains, and we've also funded novel cryptographic research, like ZK snarks. Zero knowledge proofs are a novel cryptography mechanism that really benefited from the development of cryptocurrencies. It helped fund a lot of this research. So yeah, I mean, Zcash uses this, and there's a lot of Ethereum scaling technology, ZK rollups, leverage zero knowledge proofs. But I just wanted to go over this history to kind of show that crypto has been about social change to some degree from early on, and this came along really quickly. So it's only been 1 to 2 generations since the first public key cryptography was developed. And maybe a few people could have predicted Bitcoin a few decades ago, but definitely not very many people. And there's just a lot of emergent stuff happening. There's a lot of new technology that's coming out, and we don't know what's coming. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing what I've seen and what I've heard from folks, and yeah, hopefully we can share some information if you guys haven't seen it. So with that, let's see what's coming next. Where is crypto going? Where is cryptocurrency going? Where are blockchains going? I think one big underexplored domain for crypto and blockchain specifically right now is building for mobile devices. Mobile devices there's more smartphones in the world than any other type of computer. And there's a large portion of the global population that only has access to the internet or just digital life through mobile devices. So building blockchains that are actually accessible to these people is super important. And this is a huge potential market and just audience that can benefit from using these technologies. People that are in places where mobile use is the primary mode of interacting is they can likely benefit from the services that blockchains can offer. I'm thinking people in the global south, in Africa and South America. We've seen pretty high inflation in some South American countries, and actually providing access to alternative digital assets to these folks could be hugely beneficial. I think this graph is really interesting because it shows how smartphone adoption has been adopted super quickly compared to a lot of old technology. And I think it'd be really interesting to see how quickly blockchain adoption will fit on this graph. I guess Bitcoin's been around for 10 years, so it would be slower than smartphones already. But with different generations of blockchain technology, I think these curves would look a little bit different. And Celo is designing for mobile. At the infrastructure layer, we've designed this ultralight client called Plumo using zero knowledge proof technology that allows people to trustlessly connect to the network and like run a node on their mobile devices without relying on centralized access points for blockchain data. So mobile devices can get the entire history of the network up to the previous day with a very small amount of information, and then just sync blockchain headers for the given day and send transactions out to peer-full nodes directly from their mobile devices. So this is great for censorship resistance in places where people may have restricted access. And when we're designing these mobile clients, it's not just for mobile device smartphones. We can imagine other lightweight devices taking advantage of these infrastructure features. So it's not just building for mobile isn't just about user experience. It's also about building infrastructure that can scale for the mobile world. I think another big theme that we're seeing is building blockchains and crypto that is environmentally and community friendly. This is a core part of Celo's design from the beginning. Being proof of stake, we're seeing all new blockchains that are launched being proof of stake. It's just much more energy efficient, just more efficient generally for securing the network. Celo is proof of stake. We also have a concept of natural resource-backed currencies. There are carbon-backed tokens, like carbon credit tokens on right now. MCO2, I believe, is the token. And we're actually looking at incorporating, well, we have incorporated those into our reserves. So Celo also has native stable currencies that are backed by crypto assets in our Celo reserve. We have the MCO2 token in our reserve. So the value of these carbon credit tokens are backing our stable coins right now, partially. It's a very small percentage right now because we want to make sure that our stable tokens are actually stable and fully backed. They're backed by Bitcoin, Ether, Celo, and DAI, and MCO2 right now. And we're looking at expanding that into a wider range of natural resource-backed currencies. So once we start tokenizing forests, tokenizing like ocean resources, tokenizing the natural world, we can include these in the reserve, and we'll actually have currency that is backed by things that we value. There's also new designs in currency. Actually, one of the common stories that we tell in the Celo ecosystem is about Curitiba in Brazil and this bus token experiment where there's actually a program developed in Curitiba where there was a lot of garbage in the city, and the mayor implemented this program where people could collect garbage and then redeem garbage for bus tokens. So this had an interesting effect of making the city much cleaner because people would actually get something for cleaning up the city, and there was an economic increase following this program as well because people in poor neighborhoods could then use their bus tokens to move around the city to find jobs. So it had this these mutual reinforcing benefits. It's really cool kind of experiment that was really successful, and definitely interested in seeing projects like this developed in cryptocurrency. The kind of barrier to entry for creating new types of currencies and these mechanism designs is much lower with blockchain technology and just how easy it is to create tokens. So really interested in seeing how we can support communities using alternative currencies that are more accessible and more useful for folks. Also, like I mentioned, if people are in communities where there are failing currencies, their savings are being inflated away by people elsewhere making policy decisions about how the currency is managed, blockchains are providing alternative options for them in terms of investing in digital assets or saving in a variety of digital assets. So this can help support communities as well by keeping wealth where it's generated. Scalability is a huge piece that's talked a lot about in blockchains. It's mainly a technical problem, and I think there's a pretty solid, there's a lot of solid research going on in a lot of blockchains. Celo specifically recently announced a partnership with Miston Labs. This team has a lot of engineers that were working on the Facebook Diem cryptocurrency project, but they have written some research papers and have shown with some of their research that they can reach transactions like upwards of 140,000 transactions per second. We'll see what it actually looks like in practice when we have like production systems that are running this technology. But since Celo is very similar to Ethereum technically, a lot of the research that's happening in terms of zero knowledge proofs and rollups, a lot of that research is directly relevant for Celo, and we're seeing other blockchains incorporate this ZK snark rollup technology as well. So this is a solved technical problem. I think helping improve the user experience around it is where we'll see a lot of the next wave of innovation and improvement. But scalability is super important for keeping blockchains affordable. If you guys have been using Ethereum lately, you'll know that transaction fees are super high. I think doing basic swaps on DEXs can cost over $50 USD, which is cost prohibitive for most people. So it's not very accessible. Around usability, there's still a lot of pain points with using crypto, using blockchain specifically. Managing private keys is a big one. Understanding identities. Privacy is a big one. There's still metadata being leaked all over the place when we're sending transactions. We don't have a robust privacy infrastructure yet. But pain points around digital identities. Celo has a lightweight identity layer. It's managed by a service called Otis, which is Oblivious Decentralized Identity Service. But this basically is a mapping of phone numbers to addresses. So I can text Celo assets to my friends and family, anybody in my contacts list. And if they have an account on Celo that they've registered with Otis, the assets will show up in their account. If they don't have an account yet, then when they register their phone number on the network, they'll have those digital assets in their account. So this is huge for onboarding. And this is just huge for usability. One of the Celo founders wrote a paper about Eigentrust as well, which is a trust mechanism, kind of a decentralized trust mechanism where basically there's this concept of trust scores across the network, and a trust score for any individual can be computed by the trust scores of their peers. This is more in the research domain. We haven't implemented this on Celo, but I see this as a great way to actually implement decentralized digital identity on Celo or blockchain networks generally. And this would be a huge piece for actually creating a decentralized credit mechanism that's robust and reliable. And decentralized credit is there's huge potential here. Just imagine being able to give a line of credit to somebody who doesn't have a bank account, but just has a small transaction history on a blockchain, doing things with like microloan services and stuff. There's a lot of potential here for just increasing access to financial services. Another big piece about usability, as I said, private keys are still a big pain point. They're prone to being lost or stolen. So abstracting that away from the user so they don't actually have to manage private keys will be super useful. They don't have to worry about memorizing a seed phrase or a private key. And we're also looking at Celo, we're looking at implementing social recovery mechanisms. And I know other teams are as well, like in the smart contract wallet research area. The social recovery essentially means I can delegate a recovery mechanism to 3 or as many friends as I want, friends and family, or services. I could even like provide, like make Google a part of my social recovery mechanism if we wanted to design it that way. But essentially, providing users a way to get access to their account if they lose access. So if you have your life savings in, or even just a small part of your savings in crypto, if you lose access to your account, it's not totally gone, which is often the case now. I mean, you can read about horror stories of folks losing access all over the web. And smart contract wallets are a way that folks are providing private key abstraction and social recovery. And just to touch on privacy again, I think the zero knowledge proof technology, as well as other areas of research, are helping maintain or figure out how to maintain privacy for users. So we don't have to worry about surveillance or just like metadata leakage when we're transacting on these public ledgers. Zero knowledge proofs. I mentioned the ultralight client that Celo developed that enables Celo nodes to run on mobile devices. This is called Plumo. It's the name of our ultralight client. And that heavily uses zero knowledge proof technology. I did want to just call out the Diffie-Hellman key exchange enabling e-commerce. I think it's a good analogy because Diffie-Hellman key exchange was developed in the 70s, and then e-commerce really took off in the 2000s, and now like a significant portion of the economy is running over e-commerce, and it wasn't immediately obvious that e-commerce would be enabled by this technology. And I think with zero knowledge proofs, like this technology has really only developed in the past few years. And we have some obvious use cases that are being developed on blockchains now, but I think there's going to be some significant downstream effects and like benefits for other technologies from this type of cryptographic research. I mean, there's been significant developments in AI, machine learning, AR, and VR. I think as more people learn about this technology and it gets easier to use, other domains will figure out how to use this in really novel ways. So there will be really interesting spillover effects of how this cryptographic research that's being developed in blockchain communities really affects digital products across the board. We only got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go pretty quick through the last few slides. So zooming out to bigger picture things. This is actually a slide from the talk that I saw Seb give at DevCon 5. He talked about the 5 possible features of money. 5 features being universal basic income, demurrage. Demurrage is this concept of it's a mechanism to prevent hoarding of money, and it's basically a tax for holding money. It's a fee that people will pay for holding money. Helps increase velocity of money. I mentioned natural capital-backed currencies, which Celo has implemented already. Ecology of value is an idea associated with this innovation in currency, where we'll actually have a whole bunch of currencies that people use and hold on a regular basis, as opposed to just these single fiat currencies where people have bank accounts where there's just one currency in them. You can imagine tokens that do different things. And then creating money without debt. Currently, money is created by creating debt. So there will always be more debt than there is money. And there are some negative consequences for that. And we can actually create money without creating debt using new currency designs. And I'll just leave it there because we're at time and we covered a lot of stuff. But I'll share this presentation with you guys on Discord so you can click through and click the links and stuff. But this was great to think through and great to share with you guys. Yeah, it's been fun.
So this is an amazing session, Josh. Thank you so much, everyone. And since we're at time, in case you have any questions, please feel free to drop them on Discord, and I think Josh should be able to answer them async. So yeah, and with that, we've come to a session. with that, we've come to a close for the end of our expert sessions on day one. We really hope you had a lot of takeaways from today's sessions. And thank you, Josh, for joining in. And I guess you can drop off now. So yeah, I will. You can also share all of those details. Yeah, thank you so much. And finally, for the agenda for tomorrow, we have our first live coding session for building and deploying a D app on Celo from scratch. Um, we'll also that will be happening at 11:30 a.m. IST, followed by a keynote session on saving for the future and working in the Bitcoin industry by Connor Okus, a masterclass into the world of NFTs by Dheeraj Shah, and an expert session on the startup space for new crypto tech by Vanessa Gralit. So thank you all for tuning in today. Don't forget to join our Discord server if you haven't already to get updates on sessions, to check the itinerary for tomorrow, and interact with our community. And one last quick thing is that our last session for tonight by Daniel Alert has been rescheduled due to unforeseen circumstances. Apologies for the inconvenience, and yeah, we keep you posted about his session on Discord. So, all right, good night, everyone. Take care, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye.